Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Brian. At this time, Candy, will you call the roll, bring the court to order, please?
Present. Johnson?
Yes.
Johnson? Here. Little? Yes. Jackson?
Yes. Thank you. Treasurer's transfer report, we don't have one today? I didn't think so. All right, presentation and approval of all bills.
I make a motion that we approve all bills.
Got a motion by 2nd District Magistrate Logsdon, a second by 4th District Magistrate Blemo to approve the bills as presented. Sam, call the roll, please. Candy, call the roll, please.
Yes.
Johnson? Yes.
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 Thank you.
Can I make a motion?
Sure.
on paying bills? First of all, as I was looking over paying the bills, I just want to thank everyone who did it. I don't know if it's Jerry or Trey, but I know at our last meeting, the U of L hospital bill,
Right.
we voted on $600,000, and someone has got that negotiated down to $141,000.
Yeah, and
I'd like to thank you all for that.
you're welcome, Baron. The explanation goes like this. It started at $1 million and went to 600-something thousand, and then it ended up being 141 by the time we got done. So I can't say enough about our partners at the University of Louisville Medical Center. I mean, it's a medical center now, but the hospital moving forward. Thank you, Vera.
That's awesome.
Okay. Well, thank you. Approval of the minutes for the June 20th, 2023 Bullitt County regular scheduled meeting.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes for June the 20th, 23, and June 28th, 2023.
Okay.
I'll second.
I have a motion by 1st District Magistrate Sanders, a second by 3rd District Magistrate Johnson to approve the minutes for June 20th of 2023. And also, we'll have to do a separate motion to help you, Magistrate Sanders, on the June 28th special meeting, okay? Or that's what we've done in the past. So if you'll call the roll, please.
Ms. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Blemo? Yes. Judge Summers?
Yes.
Ms. Sanders?
Yes.
Mr. Loxton?
Yes.
Okay, I have a motion by 1st District Magistrate Sanders, a second by 3rd District Magistrate Johnson to approve the June 28th, 2023 special meeting for a budget and payment of the hospital bill.
Mr. Blemo? Yes. Judge Summers?
Yes.
Ms. Sanders?
Yes.
Mr. Loxton?
Yes.
Ms. Johnson?
Yes.
Thank you all. We'll do the medical services contract at the next meeting. Do we have guest speakers first, though?
No one is signed up.
Thank you, Counselor. Kevin Mooney, County Clerk, Reapportionment Committee presentation.
Good morning, everybody.
Morning, Kevin.
This is a once every 10 years thing, so it's not like I'm real fluid at this, okay? I laid a packet in front of all the magistrates and the judge. Candy has a copy of it as well for the record. The reapportionment committee was appointed by you all. We had a gentleman named Brad Silveria, Evan Wright, and a lady named Kathleen Seeger. They were the members. They met 3 times, and we also had KIPTA involved from their GIS department, and the work actually went remarkably well, went very easily. Ultimately, the range on numbers is on page 2, that we had to have all 4 magisterial districts between 19,527 to less than 21,583. We moved 2 precincts in whole. We moved one out of Mount Washington and into the 3rd, went from the 2nd district to the 3rd, and we moved one out of 1st district in Shepherdsville and to the 4th. They are name changes. So the boundaries didn't change, and it's only the name that will change on these precincts. There's numerous pages in there. Mainly I was giving you a bunch of maps from the whole county down to the picture of A101 and B114, giving the new numbers. Then I also gave you 4 magisterial districts, one for each of you, so you could see the shape of your boundaries. And and then the last 4 pages is the written description that is of the 4 magisterial districts. Those were the requirements of what those 4 magisterials, those were requirements. Kipta wrote those for me. I worked with the lady on some of the language and making sure that everything made sense. And it's completed. The committee voted unanimously to present it to you all, and they are contiguous in their nature, and they were compact and contiguous, and that was part of, in the training of what we were told we had to hit. Mount Washington was bigger than, and I'm speaking magisterial districts here, but also in population. The Mount Washington area on my voter registration was up by like 3,000 over the other 3 magistrates' districts. So we knew that we had to pull population out of the 2nd district area in order to be able, and that also applied to population the same way. And ultimately, by moving this 1 precinct into the 3rd, numbers dropped right in line. Moved the 1st district precinct out of yours, Vera, which is right across the street, and goes up to, I think, Fugit, if I remember right, or Deer Lake, goes up to Hensley. When that dropped into the 4th, all the numbers meshed and matched. And so the committee voted to approve it, send it to you all. I present it to you all for approval, and we have completed this inside the 60-day window that the reapportionment committee had. If I remember correctly, you all have a 60-day window to approve. There's also, that's followed by a 20-day window for a member of the public if they wish to go to circuit court. I will tell you all that the longer you all delay approving this, the longer for me to update the 2 precincts that are affected, so I can get the name changes and the stuff in place. That's not a lot of work, but it is just one more thing that I do need to get completed. I also have to provide to you all the minutes of all 3 meetings, along with the dates of the meetings and their names, so that then you all can make payment to those 3 people. That's all I got, unless you've got questions.
Questions, magistrates? Now, or you want to wait till the next meeting?
I have one question.
Yes, ma'am.
On mine, the Hensley Road, it just goes to Hensley Road, but I have everything else.
Yes and no. The apartment, when you turn left off of 44
Yes.
onto Hensley, the apartments and houses on the left side, it's following the city limit boundary at that location. There's also an underground buried pipeline back in there that's being followed, and the city boundary follows that pipeline. Ultimately, some of Madison Ray is yours and some is going to you, Brian. That's because of how the city boundary went back when this thing was drawn a decade ago. And we were trying to stay out of modifying the precincts. We have the voters coded correctly, but that was where the precinct lines ran, and they've just been running that way. So everything on the right will be yours and getting on back into Deer Lake and on back to the end of Hensley. The bulk of Hensley is yours. Half of Madison Ray, roughly, is yours. That's yours. And on down to the VFW Hall and all of that, that's all yours, and those apartments. And, yeah, none of that changed. But if any of you all ever have a question regarding your district, your territory, your lines, your roads, don't hesitate to come over. The door is always open. I'll be happy to answer questions with or without apportionment.
There you go. I will make a motion to pay the committee
Okay.
for their efforts. And there was 3 meetings, correct? They get $200 a meeting. So it's 6 times 3 is $1,800. Okay, got it? Yeah, thank you. And thank them for their service, because apparently there was no absence with any of them.
No, they were all present at every meeting. It was a good group. They were solid and serious about the work, so it went really well. Tammy or
Jim went to the first meeting, I went to the second.
yes. So the county attorney's office was present at all 3 meetings as well.
Good.
I'll second that motion to pay the, committee members.
Yeah, it's $1,800. So any other discussion about payment? Candy, call the roll, please.
Judge Summers?
Yes.
Ms. Sanders?
Yes.
Mr. Loxton?
Yes.
Ms. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Blingell? Yes. Motion carried.
Thank you all. And then approval, any thoughts on that today, or you want to wait till the next meeting?
I don't care. It's
Okay.
your all's call, so I just wanted to present it to you because I had it ready.
Gotcha.
So if you all want to wait till the next meeting, no harm, no foul.
Do what, Brian? I didn't hear you. Okay. All right. Okay. Got a motion by 4th District Magistrate Blingell, a second by 2nd District Magistrate Logston to approve the Reapportionment Committee's recommendation for reapportionment of the magisterial districts in Bullitt County. Candy, call the roll.
Ms. Sanders?
Yes.
Mr. Loxton?
Yes.
Ms. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Blingell? Yes. Judge Summers?
Yes.
Lost some good people, y'all better take care of them.
There you go.
I did.
10 years ago, we had a map with a change comparable to where we had a change around that Floyd's Fork, Bells Mill Road area. And Buddy Shepherd was driving across that bridge to get to some of his people, the opposite direction of the way you're going to. So you're not the first one, just so you know.
I was thinking, that's not very contiguous, but I
It
don't.
is along the fork. It's contiguous along the length of the fork, and that was where we had the
That's a
continuity.
boundary, but it's unfortunately not a road.
Yeah, but 20
The
years ago,
drive there is a totally different,
Yeah.
contiguous.
beautiful country.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't.
Yeah, Kevin, thank
It's
you all
down
for,
that end of the county, and
Right.
that's fine with that.
thank you all for all,
That's okay.
for all your hard work. Under new business, first reading public ordinance, public hearing of zoning ordinance 2322. Jamie and Evan Ship. Charlie?
Planning dockets 2023 Z31, Jamie and Evan Ship, seeking to rezone from R1 to Ag, located at 3821 Coral Ridge Road, parcel 034-SE0-16-024, in an unincorporated area of the county, 18.5 acres more or less. Purpose is to operate an alpaca farm. The future land use map calls for commercial. Pursuant to provisions of KRS 100.211, Bullitt County Planning Commission held a public hearing concerning the application on June 8th, 2023. Based on the testimony of the applicants and our proponents, the Planning Commission finds that the map amendment is not in agreement with the community's comprehensive plan, but it is in agreement with the zoning of the property surrounding it. There is an added restriction that there be no development on the north side of the property near the existing neighborhood. Because of the testimony received at the public hearing is summarized herein, the Planning Commission recommends this requested zoning change be approved and sends a favorable recommendation to the Bullitt County Fiscal Court.
Thank you, Charlie. Counselor?
Commonwealth of Kentucky, County of Bullitt, zoning ordinance number 23-22. An ordinance relating to the changing of zoning of certain property from R1 residential to agricultural. Property in question is 18.5 acres more or less, located at 3821 Coral Ridge Road, parcel number 034-SE0-16-024 in an unincorporated area of the county. Whereas the Fiscal Court of Bullitt County has considered the evidence of the public hearing held by the Joint Planning Commission and the recommendations of the Commission, the information provided in the staff report of the Office of Bullitt County Planning and Zoning, and the testimony and evidence presented at the public hearing held by the Fiscal Court, and whereas the Fiscal Court concurs in and adopts the reasons of the Joint Planning Commission for said zoning change, and approves and accepts the recommendations of the Planning Commission in this matter as set out in said minutes, and determines that the proposed zoning change is acceptable and should be approved. Now therefore be it ordained by the Fiscal Court of County of Bullitt, Commonwealth of Kentucky. Section 1, that the above property located in the unincorporated area of Bullitt County, and more particularly described in the minutes and records of the Planning Commission in docket number 2023Z-31, is hereby changed from R1 residential to agricultural. Section 2, this ordinance shall take effect upon passage and publication as required by law. Section 3, should any section, provision, or part of this ordinance be declared unconstitutional or invalid for any reason by a court of competent jurisdiction, then the remainder of this ordinance shall not be affected and shall remain in full force and effect. Section 4, all ordinances and resolutions to the extent they are inconsistent herewith are hereby repealed. Given first reading and public hearing at a regular meeting of the Bullitt County Fiscal Court on the 5th day of July 2023, to be given second reading at a regular meeting of the Bullitt County Fiscal Court on the 18th day of July 2023.
Thank you, Tammy. Anyone here to speak for zoning ordinance 23-22? Jamie and Evan Ship. Okay. Come on up here. Yes, ma'am.
I was curious to see if you all had any questions for me moving forward.
And you're Ms. Ship?
Yes,
Okay.
I am.
Jamie.
Just coming to any questions or concerns, comments, complaints, anything, just here to answer those if needed.
It's going to be an alpaca business, right?
An alpaca farm, yes.
Okay, gotcha. Any questions?
Make gloves, scarves.
Yeah, we actually have a website right now. I do markets throughout Kentucky, but with the zoning that we currently have, I can't invite the community to our farm. There's a lot of interest. Since we've expanded our herd, we're starting to get bigger. So we do want to make it safe for the community to come out. Kids love it. I've seen some of your officers actually stop on 1020, and I'm like, that's not safe. I don't want someone to get hurt. We want to safely build something that people can come out, experience it, interact with these animals, and buy products. We make socks, gloves, hats, scarves, all kinds of product from their fiber.
Okay. Deal.
What's the name of the business?
Good Ship, so my last name, but with good before it. Website's goodship.com.
With 2 P's?
2 P's.
Okay. Any other questions? Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone here to speak against zoning ordinance 23-22? Jamie and Evan Ship. Hearing none, thank you. You'll be a second reading on July the 18th. Charlie, first reading, public hearing is zoning ordinance 23-23. Chester Bischoff.
Planning docket 2023Z-34, Chester Bischoff, seeking to rezone from R1 to IL, located at 2847 Coral Ridge Road, parcel 036-SE0-20-022, in the unincorporated area of the county. 1.2 acres more or less. The purpose is to build a commercial building, and future land use map calls for agricultural or rural residential. Pursuant to the provisions of KRS 100.211, Bullitt County Planning Commission held a public hearing concerning the application on June 8th, 2023. Based on the testimony of the applicants and our proponents, the Bullitt County Planning Commission finds the map amendment is not in agreement with the community's comprehensive plan. Because of the testimony received herein, the Bullitt County Planning Commission recommends this requested zoning change be denied and sends an unfavorable recommendation to the Bullitt County Fiscal Court.
Thank you, Charlie. Tammy?
Commonwealth of Kentucky, County of Bullitt, zoning ordinance number 23-23. an ordinance relating to the changing of zoning of certain property from R1 residential to IL light industrial. The property in question is 1.2 acres, more or less, located at 2847 Coral Ridge Road, parcel number 036-SE0-20-022 in an unincorporated area of the county. Whereas the Fiscal Court of Bullitt County has considered the evidence of the public hearing held by the Joint Planning Commission and the recommendations of the Commission, the information provided in the staff report of the Office of Bullitt County Planning and Zoning, and the testimony and evidence presented at the public hearing held by the Fiscal Court, and whereas the Fiscal Court disputes and rejects the reasons of the Joint Planning Commission for denial of said zoning change, and disapproves and rejects the recommendations of the Planning Commission in this matter as set out in said minutes, and based upon its own findings of fact, determines that the proposed zoning change is acceptable and should be approved. Now therefore be it ordained by the Fiscal Court of County of Bullitt, Commonwealth of Kentucky. Section 1, that the above property located in the unincorporated area of Bullitt County, and more particularly described in the minutes and records of the Planning Commission in docket number 2023Z-34, is hereby changed from R1 residential to IL light industrial. Section 2, this ordinance shall take effect upon passage and publication as required by law. Section 3, should any section, provision, or part of this ordinance be declared unconstitutional or invalid for any reason by a court of competent jurisdiction, then the remainder of this ordinance shall not be affected and shall remain in full force and effect. Section 4, all ordinances and resolutions to the extent they are inconsistent herewith are hereby repealed. Given first reading and public hearing at a regular meeting of the Bullitt County Fiscal Court on the 5th day of July 2023, to be given second reading at a regular meeting of the Bullitt County Fiscal Court on the 18th day of July 2023.
Thank you, Tammy. Anyone here to speak for zoning ordinance 23-23, Chester Bischoff?
Yes.
Okay. Please come up. And you are?
Chester Bischoff.
Okay.
This is the one that, I have two here. You know, this is the one, the light industrial. I would like to drop it at this time, you know, as far as getting a rezone on this property only. The other one, I would like to continue doing it.
Okay.
So it sounds like he's requesting to withdraw this application.
Yes.
And at the planning commission meeting, there was no opposition to it, but like Charlie said, the commission found it just didn't fit the area. So that's why they had turned it down. But the other one got a favorable recommendation. His other
For a commercial building.
For the other one.
Yeah, another one's a commercial building.
Yeah,
right?
the other one is at 3499 Coral Ridge Road.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And-
That's one they did approve, you know, on that.
Okay.
So it's up to the court whether y'all would allow the withdrawal or whether you'll go on and have a second reading at the next meeting.
Okay. So help me with the when I'm going to say the landscape here, Counselor. How close is this to the city of Hillview?
Sorry? Oh, how close is this to the city? Well, let's see.
I've been here, done that before already, before we dropped the industrial light. Coral Ridge is
don't
by the
know.
golf course, correct?
This is the
Yeah, it's 1020. It's out by the golf course. They're getting ready to do a major development on the old, I couldn't tell off of the map that was given to me.
Charlie, is that development across 1020? Is that in the city of Hillview?
Bear with me.
The
If
light
so-
industrial is across the railroad tracks, that is in Hillview.
Yeah,
Yes,
I think
yes.
if it doesn't directly adjoin, it's close. To adjoining the city boundary, close. If that's industrial across the street.
Yeah,
I mean, I think
and Mr. Bishop, I'm going to be square with you. We just really got into a controversial issue with the city of Hillview by dropping the industrial light request, and then they went into the city of Hillview, and we've got quite the magnitude of residents who are really upset with all that. So,
Well, see, the thing that is, it's not, you know, that's not in the city of Hillview. It is across the tracks, you know.
Yeah.
And we do have a commercial piece of property on each side of the residential, you know, where I'm at.
right.
And everything on that. A reason I did want to go light industrial there because it's a lot of development right there on that side that began on this side of the road, you know, what to do with that.
Yeah,
and stuff like that.
and I want you to understand our position, or my position on this is this, as the Judge Executive of Bullitt County, that other piece of property the last time wasn't close to the city of Hillview, but they managed to get some folks to work with them to get it all the way down in there, and now they've changed the zoning, or they have an application in the newspaper to change the zoning from industrial light to, and Tammy, correct me if I'm wrong on this, to industrial general,
So Judge, it does.
which is huge.
If you look at the map that Charlie sent in his packet, it's directly across the street. That's gonna be considered contiguous to the city boundary.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm gonna leave this up to the court, but from where I sit, I have no, I have a lot of reservations in dropping the industrial light.
Without getting into necessarily a reading, could you explain to us maybe what this next one's gonna be? Why you wanting to drop this and what this?
Well, I figured, you know,
We'll
if
get
I,
into the
if,
reading, but just I'd like to know before I make it.
well, if I couldn't get a light industrial, I was gonna try to go with the B2, you know, and, since, you know, that area is in B2, you know, a lot of it. And I would go with B2, you know, on that, you know, and stuff like that. At the time I, you know, went to get this rezoned, we just kind of went through it, and they said, well, hey, you know, you're light industrial, you know, and you may consider this, and, you know, they cannot tell you which way to go. And I said, well, if I'm gonna do that, I might as well just go, light industrial. So that's why I made that decision to do that. You know, if I have to, you know, I'll go with a B2, you know, to get this, zone if I could.
What do you want to do? What do you?
I'm wanting to build a 50 by 80 building on here, and taking, you know, it's gonna be a fab shop and stuff like that. You know, as far as doing the work. I do have a commercial property, you know, right now, you know, through the county, but I would just, excuse me, I was gonna do that.
You do understand our position, right?
Yes, sir.
I mean, quite handsomely. We've had it, anyway. So any recommendations from the members of the court to drop or not drop, or push it forward to the next meeting?
So if we heard this, as a first reading now, and went on with the second reading, would you apply to the annexed back? Consider that? I guess that's where I kind of look at it.
Well, I mean, how could they just annex me and the rest of, not have the rest of them annexed right there at that location?
Cities have a little loophole where they can annex
Oh, I see.
They can go.
And this industrial, the one you're trying to go industrial, it actually adjoins across the street and that
That
counts.
is correct, yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
So you actually touch the city boundary.
Yeah. That would mean I'd have to pay city taxes and also occupation taxes
Right.
to City of Hillview.
And higher, and their tax rate's like 7% on the insurance premium surcharge too.
Really, I wouldn't propose it, you know, I mean, far as, you know, I guess I could go with that route if I had to, you know, something like that.
So let me ask you this, Tammy. Can he readjust it to, if you're wanting to take it from IL back to what? Industrial light. You're at industrial light, you got an unfavorable recommendation, the way I understand it, from the planning commission. So what's the zoning that you want instead of industrial light?
I would go with B2.
And he would have to reapply. That'd be a
Yeah, I
new
would have-
application process. So here's the thing. If you all allow the withdrawal, he can start over immediately. If you don't allow the withdrawal and you don't approve the ordinance at the next meeting, there's a 1-year tolling period where you can't apply to rezone that property. So that's the practical application of what would happen here. If they turn it down, you have a 1-year waiting period before you can ask to rezone it again. If you allow the withdrawal, he can file an application tomorrow to rezone it a different way.
Got one question I'm just confused about before I make any decisions. Is this second, this line number 3, the next one, is that an entirely different property that we're talking about?
Yes.
So when you went, was your plan to build the same building, but whichever property it works out?
No, it's, the other one I hadn't planned on building at this time, but if I do build on it, it'll be an office, with a small building in the back, just, maybe a 20 by 20 or something like that.
Would that be for your personal business or use, or would that be something?
That may be, I was thinking about using it as a personal or, or renting it out one, and stuff like that.
And it's down the road from, these two properties don't adjoin each other at all.
At all.
Completely separate.
My question was, I didn't know if this was a backup plan, or
No,
if this one didn't work, if you'd build that building somewhere else, or?
No, this is totally
Two
different.
entirely different
Yes, sir.
visions.
Mm-hmm, yes.
One more question, Counselor. Can we put restrictions on this if we, if we,
If you approve the zone change, yes. If he agrees to the restrictions, we can do a deed restriction.
okay. Do we
But
have,
he's asking to withdraw it completely. Yeah, he's saying he doesn't want the zoning at all. So I think really your options would be either allow the withdrawal or you don't adopt the ordinance.
okay. Members, any other suggestions?
And you can always think about it and consider the withdrawal again at the next meeting at the second.
Let-
You can do that too.
And I would think I'd like to do that, if it's in agreement with members of the court. Okay. We'll get back with you the next court meeting on this proposal to withdraw it. Okay?
Thank you.
We need a little bit more time to
Already.
digest this. And now we'll move into the second one with first reading and public hearing of, does anyone here speak against zoning ordinance? I'm sorry. 2323 Chester Bischoff. Seeing none. Thank you, Chester.
Thank you.
First reading, public hearing of zoning ordinance 23-24, Chester Bischoff.
Planning docket 2023 Z35, Chester Bischoff, rezoning from R1 to B2, located at 3499 Coral Ridge Road, parcel 036-SE0-16-035, in an unincorporated area of the county. Approximately 0.77 acres more or less, for the purpose for a commercial building. The future land use map calls for low-density residential. The Bullitt County Planning Commission, pursuant to provisions of KRS 100.211, held a public hearing on the application on June 8th, 2023. Based upon the testimony of the applicants and the proponents, the Bullitt County Planning Commission finds the map amendment is not in agreement with the community's comprehensive plan. However, there are other business uses in the area. Because of the testimony received at the public hearing, the Bullitt County Planning Commission recommends this requested zoning change be approved and sends a favorable recommendation to Bullitt County Fiscal Court.
Thank you.
Commonwealth of Kentucky, County of Bullitt, zoning ordinance number 23-24. An ordinance relating to the changing of zoning of certain property from R1 residential to B2 central business. Property in question is 0.77 acres more or less, located at 3499 Coral Ridge Road, parcel number 036-SE0-16-035 in an unincorporated area of the county. Whereas the Fiscal Court of Bullitt County has considered the evidence of the public hearing held by the Joint Planning Commission and the recommendations of the Commission, the information provided in the staff report of the Office of Bullitt County Planning and Zoning, and the testimony and evidence presented at the public hearing held by the Fiscal Court, and whereas the Fiscal Court concurs in and adopts the reasons of the Joint Planning Commission for said zoning change, and approves and accepts the recommendations of the Planning Commission in this matter as set out in said minutes, and determines that the proposed zoning change is acceptable and should be approved. Now therefore be it ordained by the Fiscal Court of County of Bullitt, Commonwealth of Kentucky, Section 1, that the above property located in the unincorporated area of Bullitt County, and more particularly described in the minutes and records of the Planning Commission in docket number 2023Z-35, is hereby changed from R1 residential to B2 central business. Section 2, this ordinance shall take effect upon passage and publication as required by law. Section 3, should any section, provision, or part of this ordinance be declared unconstitutional or invalid for any reason by a court of competent jurisdiction, then the remainder of this ordinance shall not be affected and shall remain in full force and effect. Section 4, all ordinances and resolutions to the extent they are inconsistent herewith are hereby repealed. Given first reading and public hearing at a regular meeting of the Bullitt County Fiscal Court on the 5th day of July 2023, to be given second reading at a regular meeting of the Bullitt County Fiscal Court on the 18th day of July 2023.
Thank you, Tammy. Chester, would you like to speak on this one again, or have you had enough discussion? Okay. Anyone here to speak against it? Zoning ordinance 2324. Hearing or seeing none. Thank you all. First reading, public hearing of zoning ordinance 23-25. Marvin and Tracy Judson.
Planning docket 2023 Z36, Marvin and Tracy Judson, seeking to rezone from ag to R1, located at 315 Cundiff Hollow Road, parcel 029-000-00-080, in an unincorporated area of the county. 0.168 acres more or less, with the purpose being to add that 0.16 acres to the property located at 492 Cundiff Hollow Road. The future land use map calls for conservation. Bullitt County Planning Commission, pursuant to provisions of KRS 100.211, held a public hearing on the application on June 8, 2023. Based upon the testimony of the applicants and the proponents, the Bullitt County Planning Commission finds the map amendment is not in agreement with the community's comprehensive plan. However, all surrounding property is either ag or R1. Because of the testimony received at the public hearing, the Bullitt County Planning Commission recommends this requested zoning change be approved and sends a favorable recommendation to Bullitt County Fiscal Court.
Thank you, Charlie. Tammy?
Commonwealth of Kentucky, County of Bullitt, zoning ordinance number 23-25, an ordinance relating to the changing of zoning of certain property from agricultural to R1 residential. The property in question is 0.168 acres more or less, located at 315 Cundiff Hollow Road, parcel number 029-000-00-080, in an unincorporated area of the county. Whereas the Fiscal Court of Bullitt County has considered the evidence of the public hearing held by the Joint Planning Commission and the recommendations of the Commission, the information provided in the staff report of the Office of Bullitt County Planning and Zoning, and the testimony and evidence presented at the public hearing held by the Fiscal Court, and whereas the Fiscal Court concurs in and adopts the reasons of the Joint Planning Commission for said zoning change, and approves and accepts the recommendations of the Planning Commission in this matter as set out in said minutes, and determines that the proposed zoning change is acceptable and should be approved. Now therefore be it ordained by the Fiscal Court of County of Bullitt, Commonwealth of Kentucky, Section 1, that the above property located in the unincorporated area of Bullitt County, and more particularly described in the minutes and records of the Planning Commission and docket number 2023Z-36, is hereby changed from agricultural to R1 residential. Section 2, this ordinance shall take effect upon passage and publication as required by law. Section 3, should any section, provision, or part of this ordinance be declared unconstitutional or invalid for any reason by a court of competent jurisdiction, then the remainder of this ordinance shall not be affected and shall remain in full force and effect. Section 4, all ordinances and resolutions to the extent they are inconsistent herewith are hereby repealed. Given first reading and public hearing at a regular meeting of the Bullitt County Fiscal Court on the 5th day of July 2023, to be given second reading at a regular meeting of the Bullitt County Fiscal Court on the 18th day of July 2023.
Thank you, Tammy. Anyone here to speak for zoning ordinance 23-25? Marvin and Tracy Judson. Anyone here to speak against zoning ordinance 23-25? Marvin and Tracy Judson. Thank you all. Okay, new hire chief building inspector, it's Barry Jones, at a salary of $95,000 a year annually. You all have some, what I'm going to say, bulletized information in front of you. Go ahead, Keith, to show the justification of his, yeah, you can go over it, Keith, of his salary based off of the revenue that we have lost due to not having a 100% qualified chief building inspector.
So I put this together this morning, that's why it's not typed up, so I apologize for that. It doesn't look very pretty, but these are the numbers. Barry is, he came in and interviewed. He actually is retiring from the state. The way this works is that you have to have a level 3 that can do everything, which is the big warehouses, all the way down to what some of our guys can do right now. Having said that, we have not had that since Jim Bozeman left, and Jim went to work for the state. The justification of this, and I will agree with everybody on the court when you see the 95, I got sticker shock as well. It's a big number. We're not used to those numbers. However, when you break it down, the total that we have right now, we've budgeted for 3 inspectors and 1 chief inspector. Right now we have 2 inspectors and an acting chief inspector. When you add those numbers up, the budgeted amount is $262,903. Adding this in and keeping the interim as the 3rd inspector, which would put us at full force, we would be at $277,920. So that's a shortfall of $15,000. The way we would do that is that we would have to amend the budget. I would suggest not doing that until the 4th quarter, when we would need the money. That way we would know whether this money is actually coming in. Now the reason we think, and it's a good educated guess, that the money will come in is I went all the way back to 2020 and looked at the revenue side of code enforcement. And under that, there are 4, they get a few things like cable TV and things like that, which are little, they really don't amount to a whole lot. But we have 4 main areas of revenue that comes in. It's permits, fees, building inspections, and electrical inspections. In 2020, which was actually the COVID year, the total amount of all of those was $1,337,697. That was the revenue that came into the county. Of that, the building inspections was $739,311. And again, I broke out the building inspections because that's where most of this revenue would come in from. In 21, you see the trend going up. We did $1,863,374. $897,452 of that was building inspections. In 22, again, this was about the time that Bozeman left. He left between 21 and 22, so there was some flow over with that. But we'd had, and again, the growth in the county is going to cause these numbers to go up as well. But we did $1,899,012. $915,103 was from the building inspections. Now again, you see a huge jump from 20 to 21, and then a little jump from 21 to 22. In 23, and again, the final numbers I've got through May. I don't have the June numbers yet, but through May, and again, 1 month is not going to make that much difference. In 23, we've done $1,254,480 in revenue. Of that, the building inspections is $179,784. We fell off the cliff. The reasoning behind this is the bigger boxes, the bigger companies, a lot of the commercial growth that goes on in the county has to have this level 3. We don't have that, so the state, you have to have it done, so we bring in the state to get it done. It gets done, but the state collects the revenue and keeps the revenue. Having said that, paying somebody that can do that now, that revenue will not go to the state. So these numbers, again, as they were trending up, should continue to trend up as we have growth, and then we don't have to send that to the state. That's how you make the math work to bring in somebody at $95,000.
And to help Keith a little bit, and Charlie understands this, and so does Janice, in our quest for level 3, that what I'm going to say is qualified in all areas, from hazardous to general construction, general building, and also the ability to be able to teach and train. There literally are, they're as rare as hen's teeth. No different than paramedics when we first took office as well. We have an opportunity with Justin Wagner to be able to bring him along under Barry to be able, by the time in the next 3 years, he'll be a qualified level 3 inspector as well. We understand from Mr. Dorsey that he's going to be retiring at the end of this year. And then the interim person that we have that can't do all this, that's questionable as well. So this is where we're at, and I'll be happy to field. We did literally a statewide search and put it in almost every publication in the state to be able to find someone who could meet our needs. To where
And we even
could
tried
bring in
to,
our
there
revenue.
was a gentleman out of Nelson County, I think it was Nelson County, wasn't it, Judge?
Uh-huh.
That is a level 3. We tried to do contract, which would have saved us money. We thought, I mean, that was the great plan. We'd do a contract with him where he could come in and do the ones that we couldn't get done. The state turned that down, said you cannot have a contract person. We have to have somebody on staff. So they shot us down on that. We've tried a lot of different things to get this revenue back from the state. Again, this is where we are.
Yeah.
But, Judge, if I may, in today's economy, to get a professional, I know that seems like a lot of money, but that's not out of line.
No, it's
To
not.
get a professional
Yeah.
today.
And again, that's something that and we've talked about that, and we know going forward, we're gonna have to start looking at comparison to other counties, to, the sheriff's departments had to do that, the jails had to do that, EMS has had to do that.
I'm doing it.
Yeah,
To get people
and
upstairs.
again, this is though, part of this is that if you get that professionalism, and then you get somebody like this gentleman that can train these folks, well, if we had all level 3s, we'd be in clover. I mean, and they could go to other counties, and, they could, if
And the
there's a
revenue
building in
comes
Jefferson
back.
County, he could go to Jefferson County and do it. Well, we keep the money, that we would be able to do
I
that.
thought the state said we.
No, you can't have we can't have a contractor come in and do ours and keep the money.
But they
If
can
they
go
did
out.
that, the money would come back to Bullitt County. If this guy did it, it would go to Nelson County. That does us no good. If the contractor does. And you can't, the state says you can't have that person as a contract person. You have to have somebody there to do it, or the state will do it and they get the money. It all comes back to, it's always about the money.
So if he's an employee, you get the money.
Yeah, that's right.
Contract,
Yeah,
and it goes to you.
Yeah.
that's the state, wherever they go.
Wherever that
That's
person
right.
is an employee.
Yeah. Yeah. We thought we had it figured out on that one, not so much.
Okay.
So what do we know about this guy? Like, where's he live? Where's he from?
Well, he's,
He just retired. Did he give us any indication of how long he planned on staying? Or?
He seems like he's got a lot of energy.
Okay.
He doesn't want to.
Right.
It's a flow, but he will leave the state. He's not going to work for the state.
So he'd be working for the county.
Yes.
yes.
So how's the dynamics of our office shake up then? He is running the office.
Well, right now we have basically an interim chief inspector,
Right.
acting chief inspector, but they all report to Charlie.
Charlie.
Right.
We would keep that going and then see how this works. Now, the inspectors would still go through this guy, the new guy, but they would still fall under Charlie's
Yeah.
purview until, and again, as we go through this, maybe that shakes out different and we go back to the way things used to be. But we have not had anybody in that position that could actually be in charge. We were lucky in that we had a level 3 with Rudy Hawkins, and we were lucky that we had Jim Bozeman as a level 3, but as far as management of the office, neither one of those guys could do that. So that's why we've changed the way we've done that. Is that fair to say, Charlie?
Was you involved? Have you met this gentleman? Or?
I have not. June's vacation month, so everybody's been in and out.
He has spent time over in that office, though.
But he will report to Charlie.
Yes.
Yep.
will he report to an office every day here in Bullitt County?
Well, I mean, either through, I mean, he'll get the assignments and do all of that, yes.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, he'll be a full-time employee. He will be the chief inspector for us. He will not have anything to do with the state.
And he plans on moving here? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I know, it's like an hour and a half.
It's a
Right.
haul.
Yeah.
One more question, Keith. These figures that you have on here, all these inspections done with the staff that's over there right now?
Yes. Yeah, well, 2021, different folks, part of 22, different folks. Because
But
we-
it was
but it's-
our-
Yes, it's our, yes. And then the 23 is fully where the state took the big ones. That's what, the
23.
23, where the big drop-off is when the state completely took over the level 3. No.
No, it's a
No.
full fiscal year.
It's the full fiscal, all of these are full fiscal year. 23, though, I don't have, the month of June is the only month that I don't have. And again, June would not make that up.
So, and that's, we feel like a large part because we didn't have
Yes.
Bozeman,
Oh,
a
yeah.
large part of
Yes.
that money.
Yes, it went to, well, we know, it went to the
Yeah,
state.
I'll be, I mean, 95 was a big number, it jumped out to me, but I also know that in order to get professional people, and, you know, a lot of these guys, when we sat on this, you know, discussion before, when we looked at Nelson County and outsourcing different things, you know, one of the challenges was a lot of these people that had this education, those licenses and stuff, you know, at some point, do the work, you know, like, why inspect it, you know, if I can make this amount of money doing the work, so it was real difficult, I know. I haven't heard anything as of recent, so sometimes no news is good news, you know, in our mind sometimes, but obviously, yeah, seeing that number drop off like that, I mean, we can make a decision on somebody's salary at any given meeting, you know, as far as moving forward, so I mean, I would be okay with that moving forward, but I would definitely like to, we've talked about this time and time again, you know, in terms of evaluation, I mean, that could be something that their money's
Absolutely.
not coming in to support that position.
That's where
we
that
can
comes into.
reevaluate that 12
100%.
months from now very
Absolutely.
easily and say that we paid someone 95,000 thinking the return was gonna be, you know, there, whether it is or whether it isn't, I think we could always evaluate that in the future to see if that is, you know, with the number of warehouses being built and if we're not obtaining, yeah, I mean, obviously we don't get a lot of occupational taxes from some of those. So any revenue that we can secure and keep in county, I think is important.
Well, and you all get, I hand those out to you all, a comparison between last year and the current year, month to date, year to date. And it has revenue, and the revenue is broken down. I can break it down even more to do this, to kind of track this as
No,
well.
no, he's
So we can
working
add
with-
another line item into that, which you all get monthly and then quarterly, and you'll get a year-end one as well.
Okay. and
It'll
then
show
he
you where
is-
we were at the same time last year, where we are this year.
Would he be responsible for warehouses in any city too, the entire county?
Oh, yeah.
whether
Entire
it's
county, yes.
Regardless of where it's
With-
located.
But it's just this county.
Yes.
Yes, yeah.
But what you said earlier was unless he was outsourced somewhere else, that
Yes.
money follows him,
It's-
not
yes,
where he's
It
working.
follows,
Right.
yes.
Yep.
I don't think he'd have time to do that, but that's just the scenario of where we tried to work this out in a different way. We tried
Yeah.
to create a different avenue, and the state turned that
So
down.
we'll be adding him, keeping the 3 that's listed on
Yes.
the top of that email.
Because we have,
Like a team
that's
of
what we
4.
had. We put, and you all, and Sean, you might remember, the court voted to have a couple of part-time people.
Right.
That's what we were doing everything we
Yeah, I
could
mentioned
to
that.
try to figure this
Yeah.
out. And that's not, we have 3 full-time salaries in there, and that's where those 3 will go.
Yeah. Okay.
We're only changing our budget by 15,000.
Yes, and I wouldn't change, and again, I would not make that move until,
The end of the year.
I'd do it third quarter at the earliest, and that way, but the other side of that, you'll have revenue coming in, and if we do an amendment to the budget with the extra revenue, you can just place it in there. It's just a cleaner way to do that.
Mhm.
I'm not for changing the budget on the first 4 days of the budget year.
All right.
May
Okay.
I say something? Barry, he's not just a level 3 inspector. We hired him, he would definitely be a mentor to the guys that are over there. He knows what he knows, he knows the people of the state. He can really help them to move forward in this proposal. And then just
Yep.
just in comparison.
Well, let's get him before he gets away, and then we can keep an eye on him and see if it's doing what we need to do, and if it's not, we can always, I think, make a change or something. But it's definitely a steep salary, we gotta see a return, but you gotta give somebody a chance, and we're losing a lot of money, obviously, there to the state. So I would make a motion that we,
I can.
oh,
I
you
need
gotta
to.
do it.
Yeah, I'll make the motion that we hire Barry Jones for Chief Building Inspector at $95,000 a year annually, effective July 17, 2023.
I'll second, just under, it don't have to be a motion, but under the understanding, we can always be evaluated, what kind of return on our investment,
Like everybody else.
Yeah.
like anybody in our county.
That's right.
Yeah. So Candy, call the roll, please.
Yes.
Ms. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Blingmore? Yes. Judge Summers?
Yes,
Ms. Sanders?
Yes,
Motion carries.
thank you all. Thank you, Keith.
Thank you.
thank you for answering our questions.
The reappointment of Delbert Martin to the Nichols Fire District Board, I'm going to make that motion, term to expire 6/30/2026. I got a second by 4th District Magistrate Blamel. Candy, call the roll, please.
Ms. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Blingmore? Judge Summers?
Yes.
Ms. Sanders?
Yes,
Mr. Logston?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Surplus items from the sheriff's office. And a lot of guns, again.
They're always really good about supplying, itemizing. I'll make a motion to accept the list supplied by the Fulton County Sheriff's Department to surplus
Okay.
second.
Got a motion by 2nd District Magistrate Logston, a second by 1st District Magistrate Sanders to accept the surplus items from the sheriff's office. Candy, call the roll.
Mr. Blingmore? Yes. Judge Summers?
Yes.
Ms. Sanders?
Yes,
Mr. Logston?
Yes.
Ms. Johnson?
Yes.
Okay,
Motion
thank
carried.
you. Ms. Sanders, any comments, questions?
Judge, I'm so sorry, but there is a transfer report that's closing out the 22-23 fiscal year that I put in the binder, and then everybody else should have got one in their box.
The hell?
I gave it to you right before we got started.
You put it in their boxes.
Donna Willis put it in there one day last week, I think.
Okay. I was wondering why.
Okay.
Yeah, transfer.
Talking about that, I've seen tabling, Taylor situation.
Yes.
You
Yeah, we
got it?
postponed that for
Yeah, here
the
it
next
is,
fiscal
right here. But let's start that with budgets. Okay. All right. Well, we'll,
6:30.
yeah, well, we'll back up to it. There's not a treasurer here, though. So, but anyway, the treasurer's transfer report to close out all, what I'm gonna say, all the accounts for the fiscal year of 2023, 6/30 of 2023.
total. At all?
Hey, do they have to have that done today?
Oh, I see.
Well, I know we had to have it to pay the medical bill. Yeah, it looks, it just,
It's really just moving around line items to get, so they don't go over the line items. So it's the same bills, it's just,
We just don't know.
we just have to accept for it. What kind? Judge, does yours have totals?
no.
me have her down here?
Well, we'll move forward with the comments while you're getting some information on that, Vera.
I have nothing to say.
Okay, Sean?
I just hope everybody had a good Independence Day, Fourth of July. And, I don't have anything right now. Everybody came out.
Karen?
Yes, I need you to mark your calendars for next Saturday, June 15th at 9 a.m. We're gonna be playing some disc golf at the new disc golf course.
All right.
So the practice starts at 7 a.m. They're having a tournament starting at 9. Looks like there's gonna be some vendors there set up selling some discs or supplies or whatever you need for this, so you can figure out how to get there, like I'll be doing.
Okay.
But that's at 9 a.m. Saturday, June 15th.
July 15th?
I mean, July 15th.
Yeah,
I thought it was already July.
we understood.
To add to that, they have really done a lot of work over there.
Oh, yeah, I was over there twice over for the past 2 days, and both times, like last time I was there, there was a group of 5 right there at the very first hole, and then a group of 3 down at the next hole. I didn't even get out and look around, but every time I go over there, it's very, there's people everywhere. It's really a great little place.
Okay, good deal. Thank you.
Real quick before I forget this, Brian, if I can. This, we voted this magisterial map. Is that effective?
No, next election.
I didn't know from a response, from a standpoint of if someone contacts me, because I mean, I lost a good part of this. Am I responsible? I mean, I'm responsible for the whole county, but when does this actually go in effect for us?
The election boundaries change as we go into the 26th cycle.
All right,
So technically, where you ran for last year in '22 is the territory you have. You may start getting telephone calls from folks in those couple of affected precincts, but you technically serve where you, what you ran for in '22.
Technically, it doesn't change until the election.
Correct.
yeah,
Okay, that's all I had.
Yeah.
But next go around, those folks will be voting in Karen's district, so she's probably gonna wanna be
She's gonna
responsive to
have,
those
she's gonna
folks.
have a vested interest. Yeah.
there you go. Good deal. And Brian, comments?
So at the last meeting, we spoke again about ordinance 2307.
Uh-huh. All right.
And I was just curious, get that on the agenda for the next
Sure.
meeting, just to go ahead and have a vote on it.
We will. That'd be great. And yes, that'd be terrific, Brian. Absolutely. Anything else, Brian, besides that?
No, we did have a prayer gathering here at the courthouse yesterday.
Oh, good. Uh-huh. Okay, well, that's great. And at this time, I don't have any closing comments except for I have a KRDA meeting over at Fort Knox, and the big discussions about Operation Dagger, and we plan to have Knox come in here and talk about it again. They've been here more than once. Some of you all are old enough to remember what it used to be like with the tank range being here. This is going to be nothing like the tank range. It's going to be accelerated. The state passed a KRS to where we have to get it moved through planning and zoning and approval of this court, to where if anything west of I-65 sells, they have to sign a document that they're next to a military base, and the person who purchased the property or whatever has to sign the same document that they're agreeing that they're next to a military base, because this will be an all forces base, and the noise, it's all going to be at nighttime, literally from dark until 4 a.m. They'll be working with International Airport, because the United States Air Force, Naval Air Wing, Army Air Wings, and Marine Air Wings are going to be in concert with ground forces to be able to do the what I'm going to say, the exercises at Fort Knox. And this is not new. They've came here a couple of times before to explain The crowds have been way less than this. I attended a meeting in Shepherdsville and met 2 new people, and they had 9 or 10 folks there with their whiteboards and their to show what they're going to be doing. So this is going to have a huge effect on everybody in Lebanon Junction and Shepherdsville, starting in August of 2023, really for perpetuity. So this will be a huge change to our community, and we plan on having them here beginning at the first of the year again for a whole different series of meetings to explain what they are doing. But I'm not here not to inform you all what's going on. I went to a meeting last week. I have another one today. So with our federal folks, our federal elected officials as well. And I am a sitting board member on it, as well as other community the word escapes me. Community services. So that's my closing comments. And Candy, if you'll call the roll to adjourn the court.
Judge Summers?
Yes.
Ms. Sanders?
Yes.
Mr. Logston?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Blingell?
Thank you all.
What are we gonna do about it?
Well,
Shows that